Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local.
I kind of want to mash up a couple of things, which is Google I/O from last week, I guess, and Google Marketing Live, their ads event that happened this week. And the two events together reflect some really interesting things, I think, in terms of the development of search and how ads are playing into that. And just sort of my high level observations, we saw at I/O that search in Google's mind is really a multimodal thing. SEOs and people in digital marketing tend to think of search as text queries in a search box with a SERP. And, Google thinks about it much more expansively as a kind of information retrieval process with multiple inputs and multiple outputs. And they were talking about, search anyway and anywhere, and that was voice, text, or visual search using the camera. And behind the scenes, it's just evident that there's enormous sophistication, more and more sophistication, computer vision, stuff you've written about quite a bit, Mike. Just natural language understanding is getting better and better and better, and so machine learning and AI are there behind the scenes to understand queries and to some degree make different kinds of search experiences possible, like visual search. And then at I/O, or excuse me, at Google Marketing Live, they said a couple of really interesting things about the SERP. They said, Jerry Dischler, who's the VP of ads, said, this is a quote, "We're transforming the SERP into an endless stream of visual ideas," which is something that is basically, it would have been unrecognizable or would have been completely unacceptable to Google's, Sergey Brin and Larry Page and the early Googlers who were kind of committed to a kind of minimalist presentation of information. And it also reflects how just the SERP is becoming this just wildly variable thing. The other thing I wanted to say is that automation, sort of analogous to the machine learning and AI on the query understanding side, is becoming more and more the norm in their ad products. So what Dischler also said is that AI-driven advertising is our future, kind of exemplified by the Performance Max product, which goes across multiple Google channels, and will in the future have an in-store optimization piece of it. So there's more and more of their ad products are being created dynamically or are automated in some fashion. And the combination of all these things just really reflects how dramatically search has changed. I mean, I know it's been incremental, but I just thought, wow, the SERP itself is it seems like change is accelerating. What's going on behind the scenes is really kind of amazing in terms of the advancements, and the way in which search has expanded is also really kind of powerful and amazing. I mean, I'm not trying to sound like a fanboy or anything, but there's AI at the center of all of this, and they've blown out what search is and the way in which they're expressing search results.
Right. To put a number on it, I analyzed a number of mobile search results, and somewhere in the order of 30 to 36% of the space from ads to local to organic is occupied by visual images when analyzed on a pixel basis. And they're applying this AI to their understanding of those images, deep understanding of those images, ever increasing. They noted a couple of weeks ago that they had 4 trillion images in Google Photos alone, and they were being uploaded. 28 billion images and videos a week were being uploaded just in that product. If you add in all the images in Merchant Center, all the images they're scraping across the web, all the images they get from businesses and reviewers and consumers, they have this image database that is got to be 10, 20 trillion images big. And they're using every one of those images to train the machine to better understand. And so this idea that it's visual is happening, and it's largely happened over 5 years, I guess. Because in 2017, when I looked, the mobile results had virtually no images, and now they're at 30 some percent.
Yeah, I mean,
And on the
go ahead.
on the automation note, for those of you who didn't hear our Near Memo probably 6 episodes or so ago at this point, the implications for Performance Max are pretty dramatic for both agencies and brands, right? I mean, if there are fewer levers for an agency to pull, I think agencies need to start thinking about where they can still add value in a largely automated ads ecosystem. And the second thing would be, if I'm a big brand with $1 million budget, I'm running at least a 10% experiment with Performance Max as opposed to having my agency spend that and seeing what the results are. I just think it's a pretty stark writing on the wall that's been here for a few years, certainly since about 2017 or so, based on Google's public statements at LSA events and the like, or now Localogy events and the like. But I think we're now starting to see, and unlike Google I/O, which I felt like was a lot of vaporware, I think Google Marketing Live is we're really seeing actual products in the wild, and this is a classic objects in mirror, maybe closer than they appear moment for agencies. I think
it's an important point. I mean, I think there are still a lot of ways for agencies to add value, because I think ultimately, a lot of brands really want to outsource much of their marketing, and there are multiple channels. It's not just search, there's social, there's other kind of channels that agencies can handle. But I think that you're right. I mean, brands might not tolerate agency margins. I don't know where agency margins stand. Percentage of media spend used to be the rule, but I think that there'll be more pressure on margins as a result of this. If you're not doing anything, why do you have to charge me, additional money?
David, so I/O motivated me to come up with a new phrase for Google Glasses. They are called vapor wearables.
You're just really rolling with the.
You're just on a roll.
Yeah.
You are totally on a roll today. Yeah.
Well, it's just what was also sort of striking is the way in which Google is really emphasizing retail and retail advertising. I mean, that is a huge area, commerce. Bill Reddy, who's the VP of Commerce for them, had a lot of really interesting things to say. But they've created kind of completely different user experiences on the SERP for shopping queries. And their biggest growth driver in terms of ad revenue over the last, I don't know how many quarters, has been retailers, right? So they're really, they're trying to amp up their competitiveness with Amazon, but that's where a lot of their growth is. And so we're seeing SERPs that look really different. They've created bigger interactive ads. It's very interesting to see what's going on with the SERP.
It's true with organic results too. They're bringing all of this merchant center information and scraped web information into the organic as well. So, and it's all around shopping. When you do in any sort of high intent search on Google that's around a product, sneakers or jewelry, you'll see these new organic units taking up a huge percentage of space, and they're typically tied into shopping either through images or through just a panel that ties out to Etsy or someplace else.
So in a
Thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.